Hi, good morning. Welcome. Today is going to be day, I think it's 38 of reading of the Haile Selassie version of the Holy Bible. Today we will be reading the book of Genesis, chapter 6. We had left off with chapter 5, where the lineage of Adam after Seth all the way to Noah and his three children, Ham, Japheth, and Shem, I believe it is, were mentioned. And so now we're going to go back and read what Genesis 6 is all about. Before that, we're going to sing One Drop by Bob Marley for all those who care to sing along. If not, you could just skip and forward it to the reading. Okay, let's go. Ooh, ooh, oh, whoa, oh, feel it in a one drop, and you still find time to rock. You're making a one stop, a generation gap, so feel the drum beat as it beat within, playing a rhythm, resisting the system. Ooh-wee. And I know God's never let us down when we're right from wrong. 'Cause I know God's never let us down. Oh no, 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 no. They made their world so hard. Every day people are dying. They made the world so hard. Every day people are dying, yeah, for hunger and starvation. Lamentation, read it in Revelation. You'll find your redemption in minds. Give us the teachings of His Majesty, 'cause we don't want the devil's philosophy. Give us the teachings of His Majesty, 'cause we don't want that devil's philosophy. And feel it in a one drop, and you still find time to rock. You're making a one stop, oh, a generation gap, so feel the drum beat as it beat within, playing a rhythm, oh, fighting against ism and schism, singing, I know God's never let us down when we're right from wrong, yeah. Yes, I know God's never let us down. Oh no, 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 no. They made the world so hard. Every day, every day. They made their world so hard. Every day. And all day, 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 day on day. Dread, dread, dread all day, yeah. Day, day, day all day. Dread, yes, all day. All right. Good morning. All right, so reading Genesis. Yesterday we read about the lineage of Adam after Seth, and it was very interesting how it also talked about Enoch. And now, having known that there is a book of Enoch, because it read in Enoch it stated that God had took him, and there's a whole book on Enoch. I haven't read it yet. I'm excited or looking forward to reading it. And so I'm not going to read it out of order. I'm going to read it things in order. And it's like I'm actually learning and relearning myself. And so I'm excited to sit here and to be able to share this learning with you. Any revelation you get, anything you want to share, please do comment. Absolutely. I don't know everything. So that's how knowledge is acquired. It's shared, and that's how come there's also so much misinformation, because the Western theology just took over. And so I'm not saying that those folks are wrong, but what I know one thing is that a lot of things that they're doing is not right, so I'm just so happy that understanding that there is another theology, an Eastern theology, that goes into more in-depth, because it has more Bibles of the books. So some of them questions that, people may have had, well, what about this? Like yesterday was asking, well, do you believe that it's possible that Adam and Eve populated the earth and stuff like that? And wondering if there's more books. And the thing about it is that there's also the book of Jubilees, and Jubilees is considered to be like a little Genesis. And so I'm excited to get to read Jubilees and to hear what kind of, what revelation I could get from that to further help me with understanding the book of Genesis, and hearing things from the perspective of how God reveals himself to that author. So this is really exciting, to know that, that all this time under our noses, there wasn't just this Western theology that's been, as a person who attended a Christian university, for nothing about Ethiopia to be mentioned, and for all of this other stuff to be mentioned, the Septuagint and all this stuff, it's just amazing, that this man, Haile Selassie, is not talked about. And it just makes it all real to me, the wickedness that went about the world to make it seem like the black man was the heathen, when in reality, black people was just as various, or just as, what's the right word, we varied in different peoples. Different groups, different peoples, different traditions, different beliefs, different ways of life. And the only thing that we shared in common was that we were on the same continent and we were of darker skin. Other than that, a lot of us ain't had nothing else in common, but because of slavery and because of racism that was introduced, they kind of mixed us all together in the slave trade, and that's also ensured that we would lose our culture, mixing us all together. We didn't know one another, didn't speak the same language. We got all separated and stuff like that, and brought ashore to America when you gave birth to a child. The child was ripped out of your hands, and it was sold, and the discourse today is that, well, get over it. That happened, but the reality is that all of that stuff that happened still affects us today, because a lot of black people still don't know their history. They don't know their history because it was stolen from them when they were kidnapped. They were kidnapped. When a person is kidnapped, that means that they are taken against their will from one place to another. And with that, they lost their culture, they lost their way of life, they lost everything that they knew, and they ended up having to forge their own in a foreign land. And forging their own, a lot of people took on what the master taught, and a lot of people wanted to seek and learn their own. There was, different leaders that we've had that had different ways of different revelations from God. Marcus Garvey was one. All of them were murdered. They murdered all of our leaders who were trying to find culture, trying to find and discover who we were in America and in the Caribbeans and all of us abroad. Even Africa is colonized. I just see a lot of Africans who believe that it was the white folks who came and brought Jesus to them, and saved them from whatever it was that they were going through at the time, when it's like that's just not how it was. It's like Jesus was already in Africa. Black folks already knew about Africa. Not all of them, but there are some, you know what I mean, since the 4th century, maybe even before that, Jesus was in Africa. Matthew, the apostle Matthew, was Ethiopian, according to some things that I had read. And so either he was Ethiopian or he went back to Ethiopia to preach over there. But nonetheless, Ethiopia became a Christian state. And before it was a Christian state, it was a Jewish state through Queen of Sheba, Queen Makeda. And Queen Makeda, a lot of Arabs say that she was Arabian, but they have no proof. They have no lineage of her. The Ethiopians have lineage of Queen of Sheba all the way to Haile Selassie, His Imperial Majesty the First, who died in 1974. That's a long lineage from the Queen of Sheba all the way to him. They have a count, every name of every person who reigned and how long they reigned. I mean, and that's something else to want to have to read and explore, is the history of Ethiopia, because it's the only country that wasn't colonized. They were overran by the Derg, I believe their name is called, and Mussolini and a lot of that, where His Imperial Majesty was outed, and he was exiled, and there really isn't much that I talked about him. I believe that there's a movie that's going to be coming out on YouTube that's going to talk about His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie. But this is important for all people, all Christians, because the Western theology is based off of the Protestant theory. Those folks went out murdering folks. The Catholic theory is based off of Roman mythology, and it's all been whitewashed. Now look, I'm not saying I have nothing bad to say about anybody who believes those traditions. That do you. I'm talking about for me and for people like me who believe that God is more than what we've been told. God is more than what we've been told. And so now that black people are at a position where we can go out there and we can seek knowledge and learn on our own, there's no longer the chains or have a shackle. Now information is able to be shared. A lot of us are now able to make money, but we can go abroad and we can learn about these things. That's how I found out about Haile Selassie. I was being abroad. I didn't know nothing about him being in America and being educated, having a master's degree and everything. Went to a Christian university, and I knew nothing about this man, not until I went abroad. And there's so much more to learn. I wish I could go to Ethiopia, to learn more, but nonetheless, we'll see what God will have in store. I know that Ethiopia, God has had his eye on Ethiopia for a long time. God has had his hand on Ethiopia. She was never colonized. The folks in Ethiopia are doing something right according to the laws, religions, and customs, and covenants and commandments of God. They have not been endured the extent of the wickedness that many of us have endured due to colonialism and racism. Now, I'm not saying that Ethiopia hasn't had their share of wars and history and whatnot, but I do know is that they were not colonized, so that allows me to believe that they weren't whitewashed. Now, I know that Ethiopia and Egypt and Rome tried to invade itself onto Ethiopia, and Ethiopia resisted. God must have had his hand on Ethiopia. He must have. For them to be the only country on the whole continent to be able to resist colonization, the efforts of the enemy to try to come in and to take their people and take their lands. Now some of us from Ethiopia, and I say us because I'm Jamaican, so hey, but we were stolen. But imagine a kingdom so big and vast, and imagine many of us, the Igbos of Nigeria, so many different groups of black folks were Jewish, were followers of Yahshua, and what they call, and it's just so much of our history was just stolen from us, and so, yeah, let's get down to the reading of Genesis chapter 6. Rastafari Holy Bible, King Selassie Version, KSV, containing the original New Testament, plus the books of Enoch, Jubilees, and the Kira Nagas excerpt. We in Ethiopia have one of the oldest versions of the Bible, but however old the version may be, in whatever language it might be written, the word remains one and the same. It transcends all boundaries of empires and all conceptions of race. It is eternal. His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie I. All right. Genesis 6. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And Jah said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he always is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented Jah that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Jah said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Jah. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make of it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof. With lower, second, and third story shalt thou make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female. Of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. 2 of every sort shall come unto thee, to keep them alive. And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he. Wow, interesting. So I wanted to study and to learn more about where it says that the sons of God, Genesis 6, chapter 2, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, that they took to them wives of all which they chose. So the sons of God saw the daughters of men. So I did a little bit of reading about that, and there's some folks who are saying, and I believe this is through Western theology, some folks are saying that sons of God were Seth and Seth's children, and that the daughters of men was Cain and Cain's children, because Cain was cursed by God after he had murdered Abel. And so, and then other folks say that, well, there was angels who had fallen, and they had began to mate with the women, and they saw the daughters of man, and they went unto them. And so, and that's how wicked they became, those folks were born, and there were also giants in the earth. Now, doing a little bit more research, I have found that in the book of Enoch and in the book of Jubilees, I believe, there's more about Genesis and more about this here that had happened. So I'm going to take note, and when we get to those books, we'll come back and we'll read this. The only reason is that I don't want to jump too far ahead, because this is not a sermon. This is a teaching. We are relearning. We are learning the Bible, from the Bible through the revelation of God. So these are things to keep note as we move forward and read, and we're able to come up with the full, complete story of God. Amen. As it was intended before there was colonialization, yeah, I said it right, and whitewashing and racism, which created inferiority and superiority and created racial constructs, all to prove that black folks were inferior. And, you know, which, yeah. So, nonetheless, we're going to stop there. Praise the Lord. Praise God. And I hope and pray that if you don't got yourself a Bible, you could get one. Look up Karaja Yashar. He is the one that assembled this Bible version, if you want to read along with me. All right. Nonetheless, God bless. Until tomorrow.